Welcome to our Faith After Doubt series. This series is for you if you grew up in church and have lost your faith, if you are in a moment of deconstruction or reconstruction, if scandals, politics, and hate have led you into doubt, if you are curious about why doubt and faith seem so interlinked, or if you're simply just curious about this community. This series is not about trying to fix you, because you are not broken. This series is not about erasing your doubts and experiences. Both are sacred and holy. All of us have doubts, and all of us are on journeys with similar paths. And Mission Gathering doesn't think that you should have to go through that journey alone. So if you're Asian, Hispanic, white, or indigenous, if you're male or female, trans or non-binary, if you're 3 days old, 30 years old, or 103 years old, if you've never stepped foot in a church, or if you're a Buddhist, Roman Catholic, agnostic, or a lifelong evangelical, you are welcome here. If you are single, married, divorced, separated, or partnered, if you're straight, gay, lesbian, or bisexual, if you're a Republican, Democrat, an independent, or a socialist, or even not registered to vote, you are welcome here. If you have had or had addictions, phobias, abortions, or a criminal record, if you own your home, rent, live with your parents, or are homeless, if you are fully abled, disabled, or a person of differing abilities, you are welcome to join us on this journey, to share our table filled with the tension of faith and doubt. Welcome to one and all.
You are my vision, ooh, love of my heart. Nothing else satisfies, only you, Lord. You are my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, your presence, my life. You are my wisdom, you are my true word. I ever with you and you with me, Lord. You're like our mother, we are daughters and sons. You dwell inside us, together we're one. I don't want riches or man's empty praise. You're my inheritance now and always. You and you only, the first in my heart. High King of heaven, my treasure, you are. King of heaven, the victory's won. May I reach heaven's joy, oh bright heaven's sun. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, ruler of all. You are my vision, love of my heart. Nothing else satisfies, only you, Lord. You are my best start, by day or by night. Waking or sleeping, your presence, my life. Waking or sleeping, your presence, my life.
Hey everyone, Pastor Andrew here, and I am so excited for you to join us for our second week on our Faith After Doubt series. If you missed last week, you can go to our YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook pages in order to watch that and catch up on that. But today we're going to be talking about how we move out of the stage of perplexity into the stages of revolutionary love and harmony. So if this means something to you, maybe you should get the book. Maybe you should get Brian McLaren's book. Or maybe you could hit us up and help us keep this stream going, help us keep these messages going, and help us keep this amazing space we have here right in the heart of Charlotte going. So on the screen here, there's some ways to give, and thank you for your gifts. Nobody's getting rich here. Nobody's doing anything but keeping all of this going so that we can build a movement of people trying to seek harmony in the world and trying to live out revolutionary love. So let's get into today's series. So last week we talked about the first 3 stages of faith development. The first 2, simplicity and complexity, they're about faith before doubt. And that's always about correct belief. And then phase 3 we talked about is perplexity, and that's faith after doubt. This week we're going to talk a little bit about the next phase, phase 4, which is harmony. So perplexity and harmony are faith after doubt, and they're all about something called revolutionary love. The journey through simplicity and complexity involves learning and perfecting our beliefs. Those are the building blocks that we build up those grand structures on. The journey of doubt through perplexity involves not only questioning those beliefs that we've built up, but the whole belief system and the way that we approach faith. The journey into stage 4 is the stage of harmony and is a journey beyond our beliefs and into that revolutionary love. But it's really hard to get into phase 4. It's really hard to get our minds to go there because our constructs have been so bogged down and enamored and obsessed with correctness for so long. And it's all about beliefs and the correct beliefs. And beliefs aren't bad. In fact, beliefs are necessary. But beliefs are not a requirement for love. And beliefs and holding those beliefs are not the same thing as faith. Alan Watts talks about this in one of his books, and he says, we are here to make a clear distinction between belief and faith. Because in general practice, belief has come to mean a state of mind, which is almost the opposite of faith. Belief, as I use the word here, is the insistence that the truth is what one would leaf or wish to be. The believer will open their mind to the truth on the condition that it fits within their preconceived ideas and wishes. Faith, on the other hand, is an unreserved opening of the mind to the truth, whatever it may turn out to be. Faith has no preconceptions. It is a plunge into the unknown. Belief clings, but faith lets go. In this sense of the word, faith is the essential virtue of science and likewise of any religion that is not self-deception. So to sum all of that up, beliefs are ideas we cling to because we want or we wish them to be true. Faith is like looking at the sky through an open window. With an openness, accepting it as it is. Is it blue or gray, starry or sunny, rainy or fair? But beliefs can be like painting a blue paint across the window so that it will always be the color that we want it to be. So what to do with doubt then? Doubt then becomes the paint scraper that slowly scrapes off and removes the painted on beliefs so that we may see what truth lies behind them. We can hold beliefs that we wish to be true, but for a lot of us who went through phase 1 and phase 2, our beliefs about the afterlife, promises of divine healing and protection and prosperity, or even divine retribution of our enemies might have been those beliefs that we wanted to cling on to. They might be those things that we hope to be true. But in perplexity, we also find that there are many beliefs that we held that we wished were not true. But we clung on to them because they were a requirement for belonging and groups stuck in the phases of simplicity and complexity. Think of being taught that those who were not a part of your group, those who were not a part of your belief group, that they would be eternally tortured in hell. I don't think that's a belief that anyone wants to cling on to. But to go against it in simplicity and complexity means to put yourself outside of the group and in danger of that belief being used against you. Or the ideas that we grew up with in simplicity and complexity, that sex is dirty or shameful, or that gender and sexual identities are only cis and heteronormative ones. Or maybe you even were taught to deny science as a part of your beliefs and to have to believe in a young earth 6-day creation in order to stay belonging to your faith group. You had to paint over your window of faith with the prescribed blue that your group said the sky was. That can be infuriating, it can be maddening, it can be depressing. These beliefs that we paint over the window of faith with, at best they can be a shield against the uncertainties of life. And at worst, they can be a means to trap and keep a group compliant and from asking questions. Sometimes the architects of these beliefs, we call them gatekeepers, who only need you to assent to these things in public as you go on about living your life in fear that somehow you'll be pushed out of the group. Even if your insides are in turmoil, reconciling these beliefs to the glimpses of truth that you've seen through the crackling paint on your window of faith. Beliefs in our cultural context most often do not function as honest, personal, and intellectual commitments, but instead our beliefs are a complex matter of personal, social affiliation. That's why doubt is such a gift. It allows us and pushes us to see past our anxieties and our echo chambers and our bubbles to see the beauty and the truth in the beliefs of other groups. If you've been through deconstruction, if you're in that phase 3 of perplexity, sometimes it feels safer to read sacred texts of other traditions because they don't come with the same baggage, because they don't come with all of those beliefs that were drilled into your head in stage 1 and stage 2. When we read our own Bible, we often are reading it how we were taught to see it in those stages. In the stages of simplicity, that rigid control. In the stage of complexity, where everything had to become so complicated, and you had to do all of those workarounds to stay within the group. They were so focused on belief. Why is that, though? When we read from the Bible, we are often reading it how we were taught to see it in our stage 1 and stage 2 development, which was all focused on belief. Like, take this passage from Matthew, translated to reflect stage 1 and stage 2. You shall hold correct beliefs about the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment, and the second is like it. You shall convert your neighbors who do not hold correct beliefs, and if they will not convert, you shall defeat them in a culture war. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. It's kind of silly, right? But that's not how Jesus said it. That's how we were taught to read it, because Jesus never talks about belief in the real version of this passage. No, instead, Jesus makes a call for revolutionary love. One where we learn to love God with all of our being by learning to love our neighbors as we would be loved. That's revolutionary. Paul, who I talked about, sometimes gets labeled a jerk in Galatians, doesn't say, for in Christ Jesus, correct beliefs about circumcision and uncircumcision are still very important. The only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through correct beliefs. But instead, Paul says, all that matters is faith expressing itself and love. All of the lists of correct beliefs don't matter. All that matters is faith expressing itself in love. The author of the Epistle of James doesn't say religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to have correct beliefs and to affirm liturgies and hierarchies and creeds that reflect those beliefs. But instead, James says that religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to care for the orphans and the widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. You see, friends, you see, Mission Gathering, time and time again, we find that the Gospels and the epistles and even the Hebrew Bible their focus is never on correct belief. Their focus is never on well-ordered theological positions and apologetics, but instead, their focus is on correct and loving action. Action lived out in love for those who are most vulnerable in our society. This is revolutionary love. This is what it means to reconstruct something real. Brian McLaren says it in this way to describe revolutionary love. By revolutionary love, I mean I love beyond. Love that goes beyond myself to my neighbor, beyond my neighbor to the stranger, alien, other, outcast, and outsider. Beyond the outsider to the critic, antagonist, opponent, and enemy. And even beyond human to my non-human fellow creatures. This idea is learning to love as God loves. Loving infinitely and graciously and extravagantly. Learning to allow the divine to flow into us and through us and out into others without limitation and without discrimination. This can be hard for us because the old way of thinking taught us that love was based on deservedness of the beloved, that you had to belong to the group in order to be loved, that you had to do all of the right things and believe all the right things in order to be loved. But that's not how God's love flows. God's love flows from the heart of the lover into all of his or their beloved, which is everything and everyone. God's love flows regardless of correctness of the beloved's beliefs, regardless of what group they belong to. You see, to move out of this stage 3 perplexity, where everything seems terrible, and into stage 4, where everything seems in harmony, we have to learn that we are fully loved, and that in being loved, we are called to love. If your time in deconstruction has been like mine, much of your time has been spent looking for an authentic and a real way of Jesus. But finding that can't just be found in books. It can't be just found in the next author. I know, we're going through a book series. It seems silly for me to say that. But it can't just be found in books and articles and authors. Diana Butler Bass, who is an amazing theologian herself, explains it this way. Imagine joining a knitting group. Does anyone go into knitting group and ask if the knitters believe in knitting or what they hold to be true about knitting? Do people ask for knitting doctrinal statements? Indeed, if you start knitting by reading a book about knitting or a history of knitting or a theory of knitting, you will very likely never knit. You see, the movement from phase 3 into phase 4, or stage 3 into stage 4, requires movement. Movement is at the heart of creation. Billions of years ago, the universe exploded and is in constant motion and movement. This movement into stage 4 requires action beyond belief. It is the entrance into asking ourselves, not if we are followers of Jesus, but what kind of followers of Jesus do we want to be? Do we want to be the kind that have all of the beliefs and all the doctrinal statements and creeds and hoops to jump through figured out? Or do we want to be the ones that are putting our hearts and our minds and our body into action? Actions of love, revolutionary love for our neighbors. People often ask, when is something going to change? When is something going to happen? Where are the people that I need? And it can seem really glib to say that we are the ones we've been waiting for. But Mission Gathering and friends, that is the truth. You are the person you've been waiting for. You are the one who can lead others and lead yourself into harmony. You are awake. And now that you are awake, it is time to get to work. So friends, may you find pathways of faith that expressing itself in love. May you find the revolutionary love of God. May you find in yourself that you are beloved and you don't have to believe or do anything to be beloved, but it is simply who you are. So that belovedness can flow out of you, and that love can be like a mighty stream. It can be world-changing and earth-shaking, to have love overflowing out of us at all times. So beyond deconstruction, and beyond reconstruction, and beyond binaries and dualities, when we move into the rhythms and into the patterns of revolutionary love, we begin to see the wonder of harmony that comes in faith building upon all of the burnt out belief systems we ran from. Mission Gathering, may you embrace that revolutionary love and step in to the stage of harmony. May it be so.